Hey everyone, I wanted to record a special video regarding some changes that I've noticed in the marketplace, and as your real estate professional, I felt it my responsibility to show you some of the data that I see, that I watch every day as a real estate nerd in a way, always looking to try to find the trends in the marketplace, report the news so that you can make informed decisions, especially if you own a house or if you're looking to get into real estate and buy a new home for yourself, or maybe you know a friend or family member who's considering buying a house in the next couple of years. This is a market update that I want you to save, share it with a friend or a family member. Now, what you're gonna look at is I'm gonna share with you my screen and some of the data that I have, including articles that have recently come out. Take a look at this. It's an article from Zillow in April of this year. Now, at the time of this recording, it's in May, and we've been reviewing the data that was recently gathered by the MLSs, and we're now publishing this out with a little bit of a, not a warning, but almost like, hey, be cognizant of some of these changes that are starting to happen in the Connecticut marketplace. Now, you'll see on the screen that Zillow Home Values and their forecast, they issued a move nationally from an increasing market that we've constantly been seeing over the past, I would say, about 5 years since COVID, and now into this time where we're starting to see a declination in home values. We're starting to see properties sit onto the market a lot longer nationally. We're starting to see some of the major metropolitan areas start to experience a cool. And that's due to a number of things. Not only is it due to interest rates which have remained high, but even during those times of interest rates remaining high, we really saw prices still increase. We've seen job rates fluctuation. We've seen inflation up and down, and we've still seen these home prices continuing to rise. But as of recently, in the past few months, we've started to see these home values start to turn the other way. Now, there's a huge word that's been out in the marketplace recently called uncertainty. And in uncertain times, I want to express this to you. This is over my 15 years being in real estate. The uncertain mind always says no. The uncertain mind always says no. As I've helped people buy and sell homes over the year, every time I've seen someone be very uncertain about their path forward, they've typically done what they should do for the most part, which is, hey, I need to put a little bit of the brakes on. I need to pause. I need to take a step back. And that's what a lot of buyers are doing right now as they consider getting into the marketplace. They're not walking away because interest rates have been higher than they've seen, higher than 4% or 5%. We're seeing people get rates of 5% and 6% now. But the reason is because they feel uncertainty in the marketplace. Let me take you into a little bit of what this looks like inside of some of the data here. Now, I'm sharing my screen, and you should be able to see over these past few years. This is from 2022, and you can see this increase over the years of the median sale price in Connecticut. This is all of the entire MLS. And what I want to bring to your attention is over the past several months, since December basically, we've almost had this plateau of sale prices, where normally we see this constant increase. Now, I'm going to share with you what it looks like over the last 20 years worth of data. Here's all the way back to 20 plus till 2003, and we saw these prices increase and then decline during the 2008 crisis. And what's interesting to note is that this demand that's been present over the past few years, which has increased and increased and increased, and we're just starting to see a little bit of this plateau. Much of it has been due to this disparity of buyers in the market and then homes actually for sale. See, back in 2008, we had around 32,000 homes for sale in Connecticut. But following up, right now, we've got just about 6,000 homes for sale across the entire state of Connecticut. If you divide that out by the number of towns, there's about 30 homes for sale, or one per day that comes to the market. Now, that doesn't pan out exactly that way, right? We know some towns do more business than others and have more sales than others, but a huge difference was that we had so many homes on the market, and that supply and demand, simple economics, created all of this huge supply. All of a sudden dropped those prices in 2008 because buyers had so many options. But as we can see, we're starting to experience a little bit of a plateau, which almost gives me reason to consider that the housing market in Connecticut is starting to cool away from this rapid increase that you've seen over the last few years, and start to give a little bit of pause. Now, do I think it's gonna crash? No. Do I think that we're still gonna have pricing increase? Yes. But what I wanna share with you is that I'm not certain that we're gonna start to see as much heat in the market as we're waiting to get through some of these times of uncertainty that are brought on by a variety of factors, at least in the government. Now, what I want to show you is this heat map that I've got for you, and this is over the entire Connecticut housing market. It's a snapshot of all of the towns, and you can see the median days on market, percent enclosed over the list price, and I've got the data for nearly every single town. And as I scroll over this, you should start to be able to see that many of these towns are still going over the asking price. And the average list price is not what the home sells at. It sells for more than that. You can see in some towns it's 1%, 3%, and you go into some very popular towns and you're going to start to see that jump again. But what I want to be clear with you is that there are starting to be some towns, as you saw over here, where it's actually selling under the list price. And so you've got a little bit of this cool that's starting to happen in the marketplace. You're starting to see these towns, some of them are very, very hot towns, moving lots of real estate, but some of them starting to cool down outside of that Hartford little radius, which is right there, Hartford being the epicenter, and then obviously the surrounding towns seeing quite a few sales. But as you move out from there, you're starting to see fewer and fewer sales. Obviously, we're still remaining extremely strong with median sale prices, etc. But I wanted to show you this because your town, this is a global view of what's happening in the real estate market. But I'd love to bring it down to where your town is specifically so that you can reach out to see where's my real estate likely to go in the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months if you've been considering selling a property. Now, this is the sort of information, just like you might hear from your stockbroker about, here's what I see happening in the markets. Here's what you might see if you went to a doctor to say, here's what you could probably expect in the next 3 to 5 years, things that we're going to look for and be cognizant of. It's my job as a real estate professional to alert you to things beyond just interest rates going up or going down, beyond fun events that are happening in the area, but really into diving into each zip code, especially for your own, to see what's going on. Now, I want to show you another piece of data here. This is the buyer demand and what's happening, and you can start to see, this was back in, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. We started to see all these above asking price, percentages for over the entire state. We'd see this amount easily over every listing. If not, and you might be looking at this saying, oh, I'm seeing people pay 10%, 20%. Yes, those were obviously present, but plenty of properties were just selling a few percent above, and this was the median demand that was going over. Well, years ago, you'd pay a little bit under list. Now it's common to pay over, but you can start to see a little bit of a dip, and you can start to also see that those days on market starting to pick up as well. And so my encouragement is to those who have been in the market and trying to find a house, you're probably seeing a little bit more inventory come to the market, which is really interesting. So you're starting to see new inventory that's coming to the market, and I'll share with you that as well. But you're also starting to see price drops. So if you've been discouraged because you've been bidding on multiple offers, many times, that we're starting to see these monthly price drops also. And you've got about, a quarter of the properties that are out there, maybe a little bit less, experiencing a price drop. So 24% of homes that are on the market right now have experienced a price drop. And what kind of price drop are they experiencing? In April, it was around 7%, throughout the year, and what's active right now, 9%. So you're seeing these homes that are pricing that way. Now, why does that happen, right? That happens because if you pop over to this screen, over the past few years, as you've been putting homes on the market, you say, well, I'm listing here, but I'm looking back, and every month we seem to increase and increase and increase and increase. But if you get to a position where you decide to, price above where the market is because you're anticipating that increase, and the buyers don't show up, or there's other properties to look at because there's more inventory now in the market, and you don't sell for that, now it sits beyond that initial 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, and buyers start to say, well, I don't want to pay over the list price, or there's not multiple offers on the property because new homes came to the market. This is simply a supply and demand, simple economics at work here. So we're starting to see this plateau. Well, what's your action steps if you're a buyer in this market? Well, if you're a buyer in this market, what I want to encourage you to do is I'd love to hear from you and hear your experience. I'd love to hear from you if you've been considering, we've been trying to find a house, but as soon as it pops onto Zillow, it pops right off. Well, I'd love to offer you some resources that are a little bit better than Zillow. You're not going to get hammered by 15 agents trying to call you at the same time. Would love to connect you with some of those resources and then share with you some of these properties that are experiencing these price drops so that you can prepare accordingly. You might be able to find a house and get it for less than the list price, or actually have some negotiation strategy. We're seeing some clients doing that right now. And then if you're a seller in this market and you're considering making a sale of your home either in the next 6 months or before the end of the year, or even into 2026, surprising that I'm saying that already, I would love to hear from you as well, because where we're considering and how we're pricing homes, how we're preparing them for sale, even a year in advance, is being informed by some of the data that we're seeing here. Watching neighborhoods specifically, we looked at Connecticut as a whole, but I'm also able to dive in directly into your town, and what I didn't even show here was your neighborhood. What's moving, who's buying, and some of these neighborhoods are still seeing 5, 10, 15% over the list price offers and may continue to do so for the next year or two. But for some, we're actually seeing a little bit of a cool or a declination. I want to alert you to that so you can be hyper informed. Hey, I know that real estate might not be on your mind 24/7 like it is for me, but it's my job to be that expert in the market, not only leading this real estate team as the #1 team at our brokerage, but also as one of the top teams in the entire country, simply not because we just happen to sell a lot of homes, but we happen to sell a lot of homes because we do this kind of work, because we demand excellence, and we're always focused on delivering that expert data and advice to our customers. So hopefully this has been helpful. If you want to see more information like this on a monthly basis, please go ahead and take a minute to subscribe to our channel, or send me an email, and I'd love to send you some further details on what's happening at your house in your neighborhood. Thanks so much for choosing Brooke Team at eXp.